Good afternoon to everyone. Thank you for joining us today, and I wish you all have a good, healthy, you and your families in these difficult times. It's already a month since we suspended the competition. 1 month we could not have the opportunity to talk to you as I usually do when we have games and I have the opportunity to the games. And probably it's time to share with you our thoughts, our ideas, and also listen from you what you believe, questions or any clarification that you want to know. Clearly, we are in a moment of great difficulty for everyone, for communities, for business, a moment never seen before at the global level. Probably we don't have to think about ourselves. There are things more important than us, and this is the health of our communities. We should wait and see the evolution of the pandemic in each of our markets, but give priority to what really matters, which is people's health. As I said, we were forced to suspend our competitions, Turkish Airlines EuroLeague and 7-day EuroCup on March 12th. We did it hours before it was public, the first case of COVID-19 of a Real Madrid player. Few hours later than the NBA, days before UEFA suspended its competitions, and the week that many other competitions were suspended, and when the World Health Organization confirmed the pandemic. And since then, we have been working to know in detail the impact of this crisis in our clubs, their players, their economy, and most important, their communities. We have been talking with all them permanently, in groups and individually. We have held 2 board meetings to assess the situation. We have adapted measures to alleviate the situation of our referees. We have been in permanent contact with the players and coaches associations to look for solutions that help our clubs to be viable in this moment of difficulty. And we expect to have some specific results from these conversations soon. Together with our partners, IMG, we are evaluating the impact of the suspension of the competition in our economy, but I already anticipate that it's still soon to have conclusions because it depends on the final scenario and if we can resume it or not, and in the case we could finish, in which conditions. And I want to thank, with the advantage of this opportunity, to express my gratitude for the loyalty, the understanding, and the collaboration that we are enjoying from our partners, both media partners and sponsors. We are thinking about our communities, our fans, and we believe that once again, our mission, our purpose as a league, is to offer something they want and long for. It's basketball of the highest quality. And we want to resume our competitions. Perhaps our fans will not be able to attend the games, but our television and marketing partners will be our allies to bring them what they expect, especially in these difficult moments that we are living in Europe. We want to do it, but we will do it only when the health conditions permit. We will not jeopardize the health of our players, coaches, or referees. We will not jeopardize the health of our fans, and we will not jeopardize the health of the teams, or their own staff, or ourselves. No one. But if we can guarantee that there is no risk, and only when we will be able to guarantee the health of our people, then we will come back and resume the season. And we want to finish it with in the current format. So we want to keep the regular season, playing 6 remaining rounds. We want to play playoff and Final Four. And we have a protocol ready that includes 3 days for players to go back to their cities, 2 weeks quarantine, and at least 2 weeks training before the start of the competition. Today we can say something, it's obvious. So the Final Four will not be able to be played on 24, 26 May in Cologne. It's uncertain if we'll be able to play later. And we are in permanent contact with Cologne, with the municipality and with the Lanxess Arena to look for alternative dates. In this context, it's obvious that we are going to proceed with the reimbursement of the full amount of money that those who have bought tickets through the official channels, and they will maintain the priority to buy again the tickets in the case the event can be played with fans on another day. We also need to anticipate that perhaps we cannot keep the current format. This is a possibility. We are a European competition and we have more constraint than domestic leagues. I think this is obvious. Therefore, as we have already advanced, we are working on an alternative plan that includes to resume the regular season in a country with facility ready for our games, and probably to substitute the playoff for a Final 8 that will replace as well the Final 4. But the most important condition will be to have guarantees for the health of our teams. Obviously, we are also working on alternative plans for our 7 days EuroCup. Because it's less complex, there are only 8 teams left in the playoff phases. In the case that EuroLeague can be resumed, the same will happen with the EuroCup. Just like with the EuroLeague, we are also working on 2 scenarios, including one with a central venue to play the final of the competition. We continue monitoring the COVID-19 evolution in all club markets. We are working on budgets for the alternative plans in both competitions. We are working on a daily basis with basketball and other team sports competitions organizers in Europe and North America to establish high-level medical protocols for return to play. We are reviewing medical facilities to support all clubs, as well as other elements that are necessary to provide a safe and healthy environment for all participants. We have draft calendars, including dates and tip-off times if we can proceed with the decision taken by the clubs. We have been working on all these things, but today such a decision cannot be made. During the month of May, and probably towards the end of the month, we will have enough developments that will enable the clubs to take a well-informed decision. For us to fulfill this objective, I'm convinced that we are going to count on the complicity of our players and coaches. They are also suffering these moments of uncertainty and difficulty, but I'm certain that their commitment with the fans is total, and I think they will make the necessary sacrifices to make it possible in the case we have the opportunity, and I want to thank them in advance. And I will also like to thank the effort that our clubs, owners, players, coaches, ambassadors, and officials are making to try to be as close as possible to our fans in these difficult days. I'm very proud to see countless of initiatives and donations that are emerging from these collectives that understand their influence in the community and the duty to return what it gives us. Although we are now concentrated on making as much as possible to help the fans and our communities to spend this time in the best possible way, we also need the steady commitment to keep looking for ways in which the EuroLeague family can help these damaged communities and they can start over again even stronger and with more solid and sustainable principles. Are we also thinking about the future? The sports industry will have consequences from this crisis, that's obvious. It's clear that it's time of uncertainty, but we also have certainties. We know that we must get out of this crisis better prepared, with clear ideas and great determination. And I have a strong belief that this crisis, the new situation and difficulties that we and our clubs are facing, will give us arguments, stronger arguments to go ahead with our projects that are not stopped. And even more, I believe the crisis will definitely help us to solve structural problems that we have had for years. But we'll have time to talk about this. Now we are going to concentrate in our communities with the collaboration of our clubs, our players, and our coaches. We are going to be centered in making these times of difficulties more bearable, in giving them the hope that soon we'll be together in a basketball arena. This is our dream. I want to finish, but also expressing our gratitude for your cooperation and your understanding. I imagine that these days your task is also even more difficult. So we have to look for the way to help you too as well. Thank you again for joining us today. Any question, anything that you want to clarify or suggest, that will be more than welcome. Not yet. We have some pre-requirements that excludes cities, probably, or exclude countries. Probably we will need, or for sure we will need, arenas that in this moment are prepared for playing EuroLeague games in terms of infrastructure. So that's the first restriction. And second, we also have to see which market has been more impacted by the crisis, by the virus. So in this particular moment, that's impossible to assess. So, but as I said, the most important thing is to see these conditions in terms of sanitary conditions for our players, then facilities, and then trying to create an environment that can be more close to the normal environment in terms of safety for all of our teams. To make this announcement today is impossible because it's too early, but we are working in different alternatives, as I said, because I mentioned that we were working in budget, we were working on all these things, so of course we have ideas, but there are many options in this moment, and it's too early to say which one, or start speculating with which destination we can have to play these tournaments. So this is clear. So, but the question is more about how to convince them, because we assume that the conditions will be there, and the only thing we can do is with transparency. Not all offering them the possibility to, and it's what we want, and we will, if it's the case, and I hope will be the case, offering them the opportunity to go together with us and to see how we are going to organize this event. So this has been part of, or is being part of the conversation that we already have with the union of players. So we won't involve them, of course, not in the decision, because this decision belongs to the clubs, but we will do everything possible to make it comfortable with the decision. But that for this will be fundamental transparency, and we will exercise 100% of transparency in the measures that we are going to take in case we can't resume the competition. We will share all of them with the players, and in order to be sure that they are comfortable, and only when that will happen, we will proceed. Well, I think that there are issues. So that everybody will understand that are not perfect. The main reason is that we did not create the league from scratch. The league is the consequence of a permanent evolution that has been, let's say, implemented by the clubs along the years. So when you have an evolution, is exactly the opposite, that you can start from the scratch and that you can build whatever you want to build according to your needs or your beliefs. So we were not in this situation from the very beginning. So we are the consequence of this evolution, and the improvements that we have had in the last years has been improvements, but that is not the solution for everything. I believe that there are many structural things that we did not address in the last years, has been in our conversations and will be familiar to you as well. For example, the distribution of the league in the European territory, that should be more homogeneous and more going to the big markets. And this clearly is a thing that it's in our plan. But if we remember when we started 20 years ago, some of the countries that for us now are priorities, they were not relevant in the EuroLeague, in the basketball map in Europe. For example, Germany, just an example. So this is one of the structural problems we have. We have structural problems in terms of P&L of our clubs. So still, some clubs are rely on their owners. You know that we publicly announced that this is a system that should be, let's say, not eliminate 100%, but should be reduced significantly, and we already approved some rules in order to reduce the dependence on our owners and to rely more in the performance of our executives at the club level. So probably now we'll have an opportunity to go in depth in this policy. We also believe that, for example, the structure of our clubs are more focused on the sports side than in the business side, and that's something that also we have been working in the last couple of years. And basically, when we launched our business operation and club services, devoted to help the clubs to develop their business individually. So we also will have the opportunity to insist and go in more in depth in this concept, because leaving the situation that we will have at the end of this crisis, we will need more than ever business people performing at high level to guarantee the sustainability of our clubs. So those are examples. Probably I can spend more time sharing with you more than that, but basically those are clear examples that probably will have opportunities to work and trying to fix and trying to be to live of the situation better and stronger as a league. I think this is good in order to clarify the alternatives. We believe that we cannot go later than the end of July. We are absolutely against of playing games September, October. That will impact and that will jeopardize the following season. We will have problems. So we already have, every season we have problems with calendars. So postponing games to September, October, we only can increase these problems. And that's why we believe that we have to avoid this negative impact on the 2021 season in many areas. Access criteria to the league, game scheduling, teams pre-season, players' holidays, all these things will be disturbed with us playing games on September, October. So we discard this scenario, and the last possible day to play EuroLeague games should be end of July, in my opinion. When we start this situation at the beginning of right after we suspend the competition, in fact, 3 days later, around March 15, for the first time, we asked all our clubs to report about the legal conditions of the contract of their players according to their respective national laws or national collectives agreements. Because we foresee what was confirmed after that, a very fragmented map across all our markets. So then we opened the discussion internally together with the clubs, whether or not it was convenient to have a collective approach to this situation and trying to find a collective agreement that can be used as a framework for all the clubs in order to solve the problem with their players. Basically, we know that our clubs will have significant losses as a consequence of this pandemic. And we also know the significant weight that the salaries of the players have in the club's budget. So we know these concepts. And what we believe is, and I think that the players are totally on board, according to the statements that the managing director of the Union of the Players has made in recent days, that they have to be part of the solution. And I really appreciate that the tone, the behavior of both groups, coaches and players, because both understand that they have to help the clubs to survive, because we have to build the future all together. And then they are beneficiaries of the system, and they need also the clubs being solid and being sustainable. So since then, since we had this first meeting with the clubs, we agreed that we will keep working with the Union of Players and the Union of Coaches as well, in order to establish this framework with trying to give response to the two possible scenarios, which clearly are the scenario of resuming the competition and the scenario of the competition being cancelled. And we are in this conversation with them. And as I said, I expect some conclusions and some agreements, level of agreement soon. And if that's happened, I expected, that will be, let's say, the framework in which clubs and their respective players will have to find individual solutions. But definitely will help the solution for everybody, because that also will give guarantees to the players that going through the collective agreement, they will have guarantees that they will not have debts, they don't have overdue payables, they will not have any issue with the clubs, because once we have this agreement, everything will be protected by the agreement. So that's why, since 1 year ago, we were working with ELPA to build this collective agreement, and unfortunately, in the middle of the conversations, we are suffering this crisis, and then now we are just focused on how to solve the problem for this particular situation. But we have to understand that in the next future, what will make the league sustainable and that would make the players' life more safe is to have a clear framework of relationship within both collectives. And this is where we are waiting for in the next few days. But in this case, focus on this crisis, on these circumstances, and once we have this agreement, and then each club and their players will implement it. As I said, solutions goes in parallel for both competitions. In the scenario that we can resume the competition playing with the same format, in different dates, of course, but with the same format, and then we will be able to continue EuroCup with playoff and until then. But if unfortunately we cannot do this, and we have to go to the alternative plan, and then we will have the similar solution. So then we will go. As I said, it's easy because we only have 8 teams left. There is only one playoff, this playoff system, and probably in this case we will go to the final 8 format in order to finish a competition and to have a champion and to have a runner-up that, as you know, will have consequence for the next year in the EuroLeague. But solutions has to go together. We will not have different solutions from one competition compared to another one. But the conditions in terms of requirements, all the sanitary measures and all these things will go exactly the same in both competitions. So we will not have difference because, as I said, the most important thing is the health of our players, our coaches and referees. In this particular moment, I cannot give you a precise information. Probably you know better than me how many clubs perform in a way that you suggested. But if the clubs have cut contracts, has been their responsibility, not our responsibility. We has been recommended to our clubs to convince the players to stay in order to make easier the possibility to resume the competition. So we understood and we accepted, and in our conversation with ELPA, we have included the fact that the players, possibility for the players to go there to their respective countries or hometowns in order to stay this difficult moment with their families. But this is a responsibility of the clubs, and the responsibility of the players, because of course our players are professionals and they know what they have to do. But if some team has cut contract with the players, they will not be able to sign new players, to register new players. They will those clubs will finish with the roster that they had, and then if of course if they have less players that it's allowed in our regulation, they will be out of the competition. But that has been the responsibility of the clubs, and they have to take the responsibility for themselves, not for us. It's so we not even think about this because we are focused on trying to finish the competition and working in the scenarios that we have in front of us, as I said in my first statement. So we don't have in mind how we are going to allocate teams for the next season, because we not even know how we are going to finish this one. Wildcard, so it's just something that is not in our mind in this moment. If we can finish the competition, we have proceedings clear enough that we will allocate the spots accordingly. And if you and the only problem that we can have is as a consequence of the unbalanced situation that we are seeing in our domestic leagues. As you said, some domestic leagues already canceled the competition, others are still waiting, as we are doing. So especially talking about the EuroCup spots that are based on the rankings of domestic leagues, that will make very difficult to find an homogeneous solution, since the leagues were not able to find also a solution that is consistent across Europe. So as a consequence of this, for example, we have seen this in UEFA. So with all exception of Belgium, I think that all the rest of the leagues are following the same policy. So unfortunately, it hasn't been the case in basket, and then that will not help us to solve the solution if we can finish the competition. So and basically for EuroCup. If we talk about EuroLeague, I don't think that the region has anything any reason to be scared about not being in the EuroLeague next year, because clearly it was a board decision that we will always have a team from the region, and as has been always the case, and there is no plan to change this policy, because we understand how important is the Balkans area for the basketball in Europe. So the area we always have a representative with us. I think clearly we all are seeing this trend across all industries, that companies are trying to protect their cash flow. I think it's obvious in times of uncertainty. But when I make the reference to our partners, is because, as you can imagine, we has been in permanent talks with both media partners and sponsors to talk about the situation, the different alternatives, the different plans that, as you can imagine, are changing as the dates as the time is progressing, and then we have to reduce the options, as is normal, and they are fully involved in this conversation. And as I said, some of them, as many companies in all the industries, are trying to protect this cash flow, and then they probably stopping the payments. That's happened also in some football competitions, as we all know, and then it's probably too early to see how this is going to finish, if that will have an impact, a significant or less significant impact in our economy. But I am confident that, because, and I said, that we are enjoying this loyalty and this commitment, because all these conversations are in the framework of the understanding the situation, understanding that we have to see different ways to finish the competition. All of them believe that it's better to finish the competition, so we don't have exceptions from in this point of view. So when we will see how it's going to finish is when we will be able to have a more accurate assessment of the impact. But definitely we count on them, we share with them. But the most important thing, I'm sorry to insist on that, is to have guarantees that the competition will be resumed in 100% guarantees of the health of our players is protected. So this is the main driver. That's the main thing to take into account when taking this decision. So if we can guarantee this, and then there are other elements that can be taken into consideration. But definitely not because the televisions want to finish, we will put our players on risk. And of course, the television, not our partners, not even asking for this, because they understand, and then they share our view on this point, and they have a clear idea of what the priorities have to be. So we are on the same page together with our partners. That's why I'm really proud of our partners, and I'm really proud of the fact that after years of having relationship, we has been able to build this commitment and this friendship and this understanding of what we need and what we expect from them, and from our side how we can compensate them for the damages that also are suffering in this particular moment. So again, answer your question, they are informed, they participate, are part of the debate, but the decision will be taken based on the safety and the protection of the health of our players. Of course, we are, as I said, we are monitoring not only China. We are trying to understand what happened in all team sports everywhere, including the States. Trying to see their approach, trying to always to learn from other people's experience. And the fact that the Chinese, the CBA has been postponed, also it's a clear indication that how important is to be sure that we have the measures ready. And probably what the decision has been taken based on this concept. Honestly, I am not 100% aware about the rationality behind of this decision. But if the question is, don't believe that you are ready if you are not, of course, I understand the message, and we have a clear idea about this. So we are not going to propose any risky decision, that's for sure. If we have to cancel the competition, we will. So if we see the minimum risk that our players cannot be safe, we will not even to propose our clubs to discuss and to take this kind of decision. Well, if the question is referred to the fact that our main priority is trying to resume the competition respecting the current format, so meaning that the home and away games will stay. Obviously, we are talking about something that in this moment is probably is difficult to see and difficult to believe that it's going to happen. Not only for the reason that you have mentioned, but that's a very good reason, but also because we know that they have some restrictions on airlines companies. So we are monitoring all these things. So we are not building this case in a bubble. So we are really taking into account what is happening in each one of the countries. So as I said, we are following up the evolution of the virus in each one of the countries. So if the question is about in the alternative plan, we have to choose a country that can host these events. Of course, as I said, one of the main aspects to be taken into consideration is to evaluate how much the virus has impact in this particular country. But not only this, if the country, the market of the city is able to provide the sanitary requirements that we are going to ask in order to keep all of our group of players, coaches, referees, teams, and all the group of people that in this case will be moving to these markets in safe conditions. So is what we are doing at this moment. So we are working and talking with different cities in order to see options, availabilities from hospitals, for example, as well as we are working on budgets and things like that. This is it's a hard work, but it's our priority in this moment. And clearly, as you said, we have countries like the one I am talking from, Spain, that has been is still in a very bad situation, and probably as others in Europe. But fortunately, there are others that are going through this situation in the best shape, if we can say. So those are criteria that will help us to choose the destination in case we can resume the competition. I am not very much in favor of speculations. I am more in favor of reflections. And to have this kind of tournament will produce unfair situations. So today we have, if I am not wrong, from the 6th to the 15th position that still have options to be part of the playoff. Some of them you will believe that are more realistic than others, as everybody. But mathematically, we have, I believe, from the 6th to the 15th position with options, if I am not wrong. So any kind of solution that can eliminate these options will be unfair. And I will not be in favor of decisions that from the sports standpoint will be unfair. Unfortunately, no. And as far as I know, Wimbledon has been the only sports event, as far as I know, that has this kind of insurance with covering this risk of pandemic. And of course, and unfortunately, we don't have such protection. And as is normal, I think for the future, not only us, but everybody will introduce this provision as one more consequence of the world changing after the pandemic. Regarding Turkish Airlines, after 10 years of working together, we have a high level of understanding. And despite the fact that we already signed 2 contracts in these 10 years, and we agree a month ago, and that it's clear the common wish to keep working together for the next years, and understand that, as you said, that they have difficulties. And probably the tourism sector and airlines will be probably one of the sectors that will be more affected. But I think that will be transitory, and our agreement with the Turkish Airlines has been always looking mid and long term. So I'm sure that on the midterm, all this situation will be solved. And I am 100% confident that, and based in our relationship and our conversation with Turkish Airlines, that we will continue together for the time being. Regarding the ELPA question, probably it will be more appropriate to give them the opportunity to answer you. As far as I know, so I am not sure this is a correct information. So. But I believe they represent around 2/3 of the players of our competitions. So whether this is enough or not to represent the players, it's always something that it's open to opinions. But what I want to say is that we know that, and we believe that they are the right counterpart, and that's why they are dealing with them. And everything that will agree with them will have the protection of the EuroLeague system. And everything that is out of the agreement with ELPA will not be under the protection of the system. That's why it's absolutely relevant, the role that they are playing in this scenario, because they are the only one counterpart that we can have in order to have a global solution for most of the clubs and the players. And then we can extend all these benefits to all the players as long as they go through their agreement, regardless if they are members or they are not members. This is something that belongs to them. We cannot deny that in some way or another, next season will be affected. The intensity is something that nobody can answer, because depend how quick we come back to the normal life, and this is fundamental. It's also important to say that when talking about the next season, we should work based on reliable data, not on feelings, not on something that is not concrete. Because in this moment, and it's normal because it's almost psychological, everybody's trying to to express their vision about how will be the future. And we have been reading many articles and opinions that people that are expressing their vision for the future. And honestly, I believe that this kind of approach in the circumstances that we have in this moment that we never had in the past needs a more, let's say, precise, accurate understanding of how we are going to finish with this situation in order to be able to build the right answer for the future. When this has been said, I can add that probably when we will see for how long we'll not be able to organize games with the spectators, that will be the moment that we will make the clear and accurate calculation about the impact of one of the main revenue streams of our clubs, which are ticket seasons, or tickets, season ticket holders and ticket sales, for example. Today, it's impossible to make estimations or predictions on that. So we can speculate, but I have doubts it is worth to do this. That's why it's important that to prepare the season for the next season. I am not in a hurry. I believe that we have to solve what we have right now. I'm talking about, and we start collecting information in order to be able, probably June, to have the right approach to the problems that we can have the following season. I anticipate that this crisis will give us the opportunity to fix some structural problems. Some of them, as the ones I mentioned, and as I said, we have more, we already know that. So we are also working on, based on the fact that we know clearly which are those structural problems, for us it's more easy to work on this in this particular moment. But to see how sponsorship ticket sales will affect our fans for the next year is still, in my opinion, a little bit earlier. But probably end of May, beginning of June, when we will have a clear landscape, we will see clearly how this season will be finished, and then probably that will give us information about how we can expect from the following one, especially in these two main revenue streams that are ticket sales and sponsorship. I understand that, but we cannot take responsibility for decisions that are not being taken by us. So we send a message to the teams, and so they knew in advance that this will be probably the schedule that we will have to follow if we can resume the competition. Since that moment onwards, they were taking decisions according to their needs or their beliefs, and now it's up to them to see the ways that they can be sure that the players will be back when it will be the time to do it. So if one player cannot be participating in one game, that will be the club responsibility, and they will have to take the consequence of this. So we cannot solve this problem, because we send a recommendation. We understood the players' standpoint, so we are not against, but then this, let's say, flexibility on allowing them to go back based on a very legitimate sense of people that want to be close to their families and to their relatives. So it's something that we absolutely respect, but that's based also that we count on their responsibility to take the necessary measures to be back when they will be needed to be back. But this is, we believe that so we believe in them. So we don't have any kind of doubt that they are not going to take the measures. As soon as we can plan, we start planning to come back to the competition. And as you can imagine, we are not going to say overnight. So we will anticipate, if we can, during the second half of May, not earlier, but then the players will have time to take the necessary measures to come earlier and to cover all these periods of quarantines and everything that will be needed. I cannot anticipate a solution to this case because this belongs to the clubs. The clubs are the ones who have to take this decision. We have seen different approach across Europe when domestic league has been cancelled. So we have seen, for example, Lithuania, that the league and the federation have decided to cancel the league and to crown the Zalgiris as a champion, for example. When if we go to Italy, it has been the same decision, but without giving any title to the club that was first in the standings of the league when the league was cancelled. So we have the same decision, but with different consequence. So which means that we have different scenarios. We also have other speculations in Spain, but what shows that there are many options to be taken. But honestly, I cannot anticipate anyone because first of all, will be irrelevant since it's a decision that has to be taken by the clubs, regardless my personal opinion on that. And of course, at the due time, I will have an opinion and I will submit to the clubs. But today is too early to think on these consequences. And basically because we don't have any need to talk about this at this moment. Indeed, it has been the worst crisis, but as a person, not as a manager. I think that if you ask to all the colleagues that we are gathering in this press conference, I think we all will have the same feeling that we have never suffered a situation like the one we have at this moment. So, of course, it's the worst situation I experimented in my life. And if that will have the worst impact in our league is something that is too early to say. You know that we went through different moments and circumstances, and most of them we cannot say that were easy. So we are quite used to face difficult moments. So we will do the same now with the same determination and with the same clear idea that what we are going to build is the European League, and this is not going to change. Regarding IMG, as you can imagine, we are talking together every day, and we share from each one responsibility how this is impacting in our partners, as I said at the beginning. But there is no reasons to be concerned about something that all the companies are doing, because not only IMG is cutting salaries and the management. We as a EuroLeague level did the same with the workers, the EuroLeague staff, and also, as probably you with the management. So what IMG is doing is approximately what all the companies are trying to do in order to minimize and to resist better the crisis. This is a particular moment. So the group is a very big group with interests and in many different sports business across not only Europe, but worldwide. And I'm sure that they will have to face different problems, but this is the advantage of being in partnership with a strong and a big company. So we don't have any reasons to fear about the future. Of course, we both will adapt the future to the needs, but especially in this short term. But this is something that is normal in any partnership. So we don't have any reason to be scared about the future of our relationship with IMG. As I said, we have to take the decision on May, not earlier than middle May, and probably more close to the end of May. So this is the scheduling that we have in front of us. But as happens in many things in these circumstances, those timelines can be changed, anticipate, or not postponed, not earlier than the end of May for sure. But because, as I said, we are monitoring all the countries, and so we have some information from Germany that is different from the one we have in Italy. So we are trying to keep ourselves updated about everything that's happening in our markets, and then as let's say it's very dynamic, the current situation. So to make predictions is just risky. And probably it's not worth to do it. But what we can say that as the maximum, we have to take the decision by the end of May. We know that we had these statements made by the Virtus and Partizan representatives. What I can assure you that we did not have any conversation with those clubs and with any other clubs about the possibility to host a Final Eight, because as I said, we are still working in the original plan, and then we will move to the second one at the right time. It's not at this moment right time. But if the speculations again about if Bologna or Belgrade can be for one reason or another hosting this event is again speculations, because as I said, the most important thing will be the conditions in which we can resume the competition, and being in the top, the ones that guarantee the health of our players. So this will be the only and the main argument when taking the decision of playing the Final Eight, if finally we have to take this decision. But I can assure you that we did not have any talk with Partizan, with Virtus, or any of the others remaining 6 teams that are still in the playoffs, on the EuroCup playoffs. Regarding the Adriatic League, I already mentioned that it's not helping us the fact that we do not see an homogeneous map in the decisions taken by the league regarding the cancellation of the championship, because that will not allow us to give an homogeneous situation, an homogeneous solution. So, and I put the example of Italy compared to the one in Lithuania, for example, and also compare the one in Spain, just to give different scenarios. And then I think a couple of days ago, we also knew about the different scenarios that the French league is working. So definitely this lack of harmonization and consistency across the domestic leagues in Europe, this absolutely lack of common work is not helping us to take a homogeneous decision, because EuroLeague is based on criteria that clubs that, in this case, in the case of the Adriatic League, club that can fulfill the requirements of the league in all the aspects. So we don't have problems or issues on the fact that in the next year we will have a team from the area, from the Adriatic League. That, of course, is not a question. But when we talk about EuroCup, then it's more difficult, because we know that it's difficult to see how we can choose the team if the competition has not finished. So, and that's probably yesterday I had a conversation with the president of the Italian League about these things, and probably will give us the solution will be to go country by country and trying to fix the consequence of this lack of consistency and harmonization in the decision taken by the league. So if we have to go league by league, we will. We have to help. So we have to find the best solution possible, take into account that for everybody, this is a situation that it's difficult and nobody to want to be in. So we will see. The most realistic approach of the current scenario is to believe that if we can resume the competition in whatever format we do, will be without fans. I think this is the more realistic approach. That's why I anticipate that the funds that both teams for the Final Four we will reimburse the tickets to all of them. But I believe that is not realistic to think about the scenarios with public in the stands. So, but I am optimistic regarding the next season. So, being also realistic, probably we will adapt to ourselves to a new conditions in socializing, in our relationships, in going to venues or events with massive attendance. So probably protocols in terms of safety and sanitary conditions of these events will be different. That's I think this is realistic to foresee. But I hope, at least I express in these terms, I hope we will start the season with playing games with our spectators. This is my hope. If we cannot, then we will have to be once again flexible, and for the time that this will not be possible, we will find solutions. But I hope that this situation will finish with the 1920 season and will not affect the 2021. Say thank you to all of you for this time that we could not be in more, let's say, regular in contact, more regular, as has been always our way to have relationship with you. But the most important thing, as I said at the beginning, is not talk about ourselves. It's talk about our communities, our people, and trying to give them some hope, trying to help them to go through this situation in the best conditions possible, and trying to entertain them. Is what we are trying to do with our digital campaigns, with the cooperation with our coaches. And I believe that this is the contribution that we can do to our communities. This is the most important thing to think and to care about them. Part of this, again, my gratitude and my best wishes that you keep safe and healthy, and my hope that the next time that you will see each other will be not in the using this remote system, but personally. So keep strong, and thank you once again.